What's going on, everybody? This is going to be an unbiased review of something I recently picked up, not sent to me free for review. This is the, I'm going to say notorious at this point, because this is one of the most, if not the most popular home fitness leg extension, leg curl machine that's out there. And from what I gathered, even from talking to a Titan fitness rep, this might be one of their best selling items. And that is a very basic, kind of primitive somewhat setup of a leg extension, leg curl machine. It's got a relatively small footprint. It is not perfect, but it seems to have a decent reputation, especially among these types of designs. And this is actually the version 2 model, which had some minor tweaks kind of here and there, but kind of a more basic review, give you guys my honest thoughts about this thing. It should kind of go without saying, this is a specialized machine, so there's a lot of things you can choose to incorporate into your home gym. Some people avoid stuff like this, like specialized machines. Other people, which I am in the camp of this too, will specifically select those machines that they think are going to be necessary, they're obviously going to use most often. So while I am kind of breaking my rules with getting versatile pieces of equipment, this thing can be versatile. You can do things such as calf raises and kickbacks, or like some leg curls, standing leg curls. I think for the most part though, this thing really only does 2 things really well, and that is basic leg extension, leg curl. For me though, why I picked this up, while I do have leg extension, leg curl attachments, I just kind of felt like something was missing, and I knew that, especially with me when it comes to legs, of all the specialized machines that I have, my Squat Max MD, which is also another Titan Fitness product, awesome, I'll link that review down below. I have my leg press machine. Leg seems to be the thing basically that I want to have more specialized stuff with, because for me, upper body seems to be easy for me to hit with whatever pieces I got. But when I used to go to the gym, it was pretty much foundationally some sort of squat, press pattern, of course, leg press pattern or something like that, or usually a squat and then a leg press, something like that. But then it was always a leg extension, leg curl. And the reason for that is, for me, especially when just building my quads and my hamstrings, it was more about just, and I say this with everything, even including my biceps or anything else, it is more about finding that exercise that gives you that direct stress on the muscle. Yes, compound exercises like say lunges, squats, deadlifts can help build muscles in the hips and the legs. But I would say there's, in my opinion, if you can find an exercise or a machine that really isolates that particular area where you can feel the muscles working in all the right spots with little to no pressure on your joints, to me that's a win, and that was kind of a gamble with this machine. So while I took up a little bit of a footprint, you'll see it kind of in this little nook here. I'm probably going to find some other space for that because there's somewhat of a slant to that angle. I just don't like it. But this will go somewhere. I thought it would actually be, even though I measured the dimensions, it's still pretty awkward as far as, or just kind of a little big, and I'll flash the dimensions on the screen so you can probably make room for it. I recently talked to somebody who literally had, I think they had like 10 specialized machines in a small space. So you can make specialized machines work, and again, it's not gonna be for everybody, but my point is, really think about if you're gonna use it. And for me, based on how I was using that leg extension, leg curl, which I'll still use probably the leg curl part of it, leg extension just felt a little off, so I really wanted to see what these machines were all about. And when I was doing some research into this area, what I'll just say in a nutshell, it seems like Titan Fitness, as much as these things all look similar, this thing, for its reputation, for what it does, has some decent things to say for it. And even though it's very subtle in what it does better versus other machines that are out there, I think it does it fairly well. So getting into like some unboxing and assembly, this came very quickly delivered. I ordered, I think it came within a few days once it was actually placed the order and shipped it. Everything was very well assembled. It's not commercial grade quality, no question. That should kind of go without saying. It's up there a little bit in price, but there are sometimes some discounts, especially in Titan Fitness across the board. So check that stuff out periodically. I will link, of course, an affiliate code. It greatly helps support me and the channel to give you these honest reviews. Again, this was not sent to me for free for review. But otherwise, the assembly process, this was actually very easy. I think it took around 15 to 20 minutes to put the whole thing together. So pretty easy to assemble, nothing too crazy. Once it is assembled, I think the parts that I think should be substantial, the rollers and the pads feel very good. These handles feel good. The metal, I mean, you can tell it's powder coated nice. Doesn't look like it's not cheap like other types of metal that I've seen that's kind of painted or anything like that. So that's good, but you can tell right away this is not commercial grade quality. It's not super heavy. I have weights on it, so I'm not gonna try and pick it up, but it's also awkward enough where the weight's heavier on this side. To move it around, it can be a little weird, but I've moved this thing around plenty just by myself. Getting into leg curls first, you're gonna see there's a little pin here that helps you just switch between leg extension, leg curls if you wanna go ahead and do that. If you start looking into this, and I'm sure some of you guys will leave a comment on this saying, well, this is inferior to a plate loaded, like, or not a plate loaded, like a weight stack type cable machine or something using cables. But I don't think it's as bad because people start talking about, well, always been an argument, but you see it a lot more, I think even with this machine, is that as you start doing this curl, put this down a little bit, as you start doing this curl, right, you're only really fighting the weight until it kind of gets to a certain point in the axis where you start fighting gravity with the basically mechanics of the lever of this machine. And while that is true, I think as long as you can fine tune yourself or get to a level that is high enough, I think it's gonna do the job. There are some hacks, if you look at any review online or even on like the comment section on forums or I think in Titan Fitness too, everyone talks about putting some sort of weight on this extender pin, which does work, but I honestly don't think I'm gonna use it. While it is helpful in the starting position, helps you kind of extend this lever arm to a certain start position, I just don't know if I'm really honestly gonna be using that so much. 25-pound plate I think was the best. I have a smaller diameter 45-pound plate, which is, you'll see in the shot of the video, me using that too. You get a further kind of start position. But when I started messing around with different angles and the start positions, as long as I was adequately allowing myself to get my leg cranked back, and you might not have the flexibility for that, I felt like the difference was pretty minimal. Now, it might not be for everybody. So if you can't get your leg far enough back to set the dial right on here, then you might want a plate in there to kind of start this so that there's some sort of greater distance between this moment arm and this moment arm. But with that said, let me just show you the hamstring curls. Hamstring curls are actually, I would say compared to leg extensions, the weaker than the leg extensions. I'll just say that. They still feel good, but what I would say is you have to get a little more repetitions out of it. It's definitely better, with that said, compared to the lying leg curl. I do like this better. You don't feel it as, abruptly, I say that thing, but I'll get to the leg extensions in a second. What I do notice with the leg curls is that especially with more repetitions, I started feeling a pump and a stress that was much different than the leg curl machine. So I have no doubt that the more often that I do this, the higher likelihood that this will potentially pay off in the end. And to go without saying, the reason I got this is to increase the likelihood that on leg day, I'm gonna be jumping on this thing, doing more repetitions, and therefore hopefully producing a little more results, or I should say a little more intensity too in each of these things, because you can actually, depending on the rep range and the speed and the weight, obviously, you can really dial up that intensity pretty fast. You can load this thing out a decent amount of plates. Personally, I think I'd rather go to a little moderate to high repetition range. 2 plates, maybe 2 plates and a 25, I think is fine. You can go super crazy and crank it, but I think you get more out of it, at least I do. Kind of keep more of a slow and steady moderate tempo, moderate load, I think feels best on this. But leg curls, again, pretty much feel fine. Notice, this is a complaint some people have, is the distance from here to here getting in and out. I'm 6 foot, I think it's not too bad. I can see for some people, if you're in the bigger side, this could be kind of a squeeze to get in here. Notice the setting I have in the seat. I do think this makes a difference because the higher the seat height setting, which I'll put a shot down below. A couple areas I don't like this little pin here. I actually thought I was missing a piece because I was looking for something a little better than just this. Back adjustment is fine, it's adequate. Again, the covering here is good, no problems there. But if I'm gonna adjust the seat height setting, my recommendation is, if you can, it'll make it a little more kind of a tighter fit, is definitely put the seat height at the higher, steeper incline. You get a little more of a stretch, especially on the bottom part of the leg curl, but also at the start of the leg extension. Let's move on to leg extensions right now. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull this pin out. I'm gonna swap this back. I already alluded to this and showed you some clips earlier, but this, when these things are parallel to each other, to both these arms, of course, there's not a whole lot there. So what I like to do is, if you're flexible enough, crank this back as much as you can to get in that start position. Now I'm kind of locked and loaded here. And if you look at the difference between when I had a 25-pound plate, in fact, I'll do it here in a second. Here's just me kind of cranking it back as much as I could. This feels really good, just how it is, no extra plate height setting or anything like that. What I really like about this that I noticed immediately the first time I did it was on the leg extension. I've used other attachments. I've had a couple things, a couple different benches, a couple different leg attachments that I bought. Actually, I've had 3 so far. I never really get knee pain, but I will just say this leg extension is pretty much completely gone. I feel no stress at all whatsoever, or any kind of torquing on my knees, for just lack of a better term right now. But everything just feels exactly where I want it, right on the quadriceps. Let me go ahead and show you, so look at the distance here. That's about as much as I can kind of crank it up. I'll show you the added difference you would get, say if I put a 25-pound plate in there. Some other comments or reviews saying like 25, 45-pound pump plate. I tried a 45, which I would say is comparable to most 35-pound dimensions on this cheap plate you guys are seeing in the video. But go ahead and start this. So this is with the plate in there. Trying to crank it back more. So I got a little bit more of an angle here. Now you can see this 25-pound plate did make a little bit of a difference. Granted, I am in that further stretch position to get going here. And while yes, it does give you more force at the start of that exercise, you are now making a sacrifice because now as this gets higher, I feel less stress right about here. So there's really nothing going on, or minimal nothing about like right here. So the hardest part is right from here to here. And again, I can hear people saying when you go, one might be more ideal versus another. I will just say I actually like the opposing way of doing it. I liked having this off, just really increasing that stretch from the start and starting back here. I just feel like it's a more even distribution. While yes, I'm not getting as much resistance at the start, it's really starting right about here. Even just this little stretch, it forces you enough into a stretch, so when you put like 2 plates on, even beyond that, that little extra weight will kind of pull you a little bit further back. But I love this tension right at the end. I actually like the way it kind of builds up and then kind of peaks right about here versus the other one, when you get to about here, you kind of lose a little bit of that. So it's kind of a trade-off at the end of the day. I actually did try something, I don't have a video of it, where I tried connecting this to this, and you'd really have to weigh it down. It started obviously kind of pulling on the machine going backwards. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to kind of go ahead and set that up. But at the end of the day, on its basic functions, I personally do really like this Titan Fitness. I'm happy I made the investment for it. It's definitely something I'm gonna use, no question, consistently in all my leg sessions. Is this thing perfect? Absolutely not. I can understand actually for the price it's at, it might be a little pricey for some people, but if you actually think of all the Titan Fitness sales they're gonna be having, likely even on this machine included, you might be watching the video right now, good chance when there's a sale. I think it's not a bad deal. And when you consider the other things that are like $100, $200 cheaper, I did look at some companies, even ones I've liked in the past, it seems to be there's a lot of quality control issues that are just not so good. So this is definitely in the cheaper ballpark of less expensive stuff. Just like a lot of things Titan, I'm sure there's a great little market for them. But I will say for what it does, I'm happy with it, where it feels substantially, where it works, and functionality overall. Feels good, so very happy about the purchase. Anything happens and or changes about this product though, you guys know I will pin a comment down below in the description box. Again, if you guys want to pick up a Titan Fitness product, it could be anything Titan Fitness, help support me in the channel, click that link either now or later date on the website, hybridresistance.com. Check out the promos and stuff like that. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next video.